Please consider supporting Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. You can learn more about them at bwunited.ca. They are always looking for donations and volunteers. So please, again, support Black Women United YEG for the protection and advancement of black women and girls in Alberta. Again, that website is bwunited.ca.
Hello, fellow Creative Control listeners. My name is Mac Cameron. I live in Toronto, and I have been listening to Creative Control with Vish Khanna since episode 119. That featured all 5 members of one of my favorite bands, Constantines. I listened backwards from there and then forwards, and I know it sounds, over the top or cliche, but finding the show changed the course of my life. It inspired me to pursue a career in radio and to do what I can to support the arts in my community and across the country. So I give to Creative Control because I feel like I owe the show and Vish for helping me figure out what the hell to do with my life. Beyond that, I give to Creative Control because I think independent media, especially insightful, entertaining, thoughtful, and thorough independent media, is something that is worth paying for. What I appreciate about Creative Control is Vish's ability to treat Canadian artists, or any artist for that matter, with the seriousness and appreciation he would any other artist. His excellent rapport with people like Steve Albini and the members of Fugazi and Stephen Malcolmus and others have earned him international appreciation. However, it's his trove of interviews with what I consider to be the most exciting generation of Canadian musicians, conducted out of genuine passion and interest, that makes this show so special. I think it is an archive of some really exciting music that is way, way underreported on and appreciated. That's why I contribute to Creative Control with Vish Khanna, and I hope you will do the same.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Vish's wife, and I will love him no matter what you do. And now he has me on the record saying that.
Robin Wattie and Tasy Hudson are each musicians originally from Alberta, and Matheiu Ball is also a musician who originally hails from Montreal, Quebec. That's where all 3 currently reside and work together in a tremendous minimalist folk and noise exploration rock band called Big Brave, which formed in 2012. The 7th Big Brave album is a lovely and compelling one, mostly centered around the poetry of others, which is housed in eerie and haunting soundscapes. It's called A Chaos of Flowers. It was released by Thrill Jockey Records on April 19th, 2024, and it prompted Robin, Tasy, and Matheiu to join me for a talk about things like their lives in Montreal and also in Alberta, how Big Brave was formed, squirrels, rabbits, and making Big Brave new fans, one dad at a time. Musical origin stories, sidechains and ducking, working closely with producer Seth Manchester, heavy metal and Levon Helm, poetry research, making a new album, tour, other future plans, and much more. A part of the Entertainment One network with the support of listeners like you who follow and subscribe to this listener-supported and donor-driven podcast. Spread the word about it, leave nice reviews and ratings on your podcast platform, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, which is the primary and most reliable way for a podcaster like me to make a living. And this is currently my only job. So please consider joining the Patreon today. And by the way, at the $6 subscription tier, you get access to every single episode of this show in its entirety, which is not the case without that subscription. Everyone else gets every other episode. $6, you get all of them, and ad-free, and earlier than everybody else. Usually. Maybe not in this case. It's getting late over here. Anyway, thank you for your support at patreon.com/Creative Control if you're able to. Plus, in-kind support from independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 867 of Creative Control, featuring the fun and brilliant Robin, Tasy, and Matheiu from Big Brave, with your host, me, Vish Khanna.
Shivering and
Hello, Big Brave. How's it going?
Hey.
Hey there. Hello.
Wow, that was a big and bold and brave hello. It's nice to chat with all of you, and nice to see you all. Thank you for joining me today. Robin, how's it going for real? How you doing there?
Oh, pretty good. I am in the middle of my bedroom among piles of things getting ready for tour. So if ever, I don't think I should show you, but it's pure chaos here. But other than that, pretty good.
So
excited for the tour, yeah.
We don't know how this is going to go yet, but is this a nice respite from tour planning? Like just to have a nice chat, so you don't have to worry? Yeah,
definitely. But it's also like quite an honor to even get to be asked to do this with you specifically.
Oh, wow.
So
that's very kind of you.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you to say.
It's true. It's true. When we got the request, it was one of those things of like, what? Why? What? Oh, so thank you for having us.
That's very touching to hear. I will say I've heard through the grapevine that we have a mutual affinity for one another. I think when Jessica Moss was last on the show, she said, "Oh, Big Brave, they love you," and I'm like, "They do? Okay, I didn't know that. How do they even know me?"
They're like, who?
At all? That's very nice. No, it's very, very kind of you. So thank you so much for the kind words. And sorry, just to establish place, you're in Montreal, I assume. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to know that. Okay. Next up, Tasy, are you there?
I'm here.
Where in the world are you?
I'm in Montreal, about a 5-minute walk from Robin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But I understand you're not from there originally.
No, from Edmonton, YEG.
That's right. Shout out to the airport, I guess. That's true. That's our code. How long ago have you not been in Edmonton, I guess I should say?
I moved out 2016, I think. So it's been a good chunk of time.
So born and raised here.
Yeah. Grew up on a farm by New Sarepta. Which is,
Sarepta.
I don't even think it's a town. I think it got like demoted to a hamlet now. So, yeah.
Small town Edmonton farm life. Well, sorry. So how close to Edmonton is that place?
Well, it was like a 45-minute drive.
You're not from Edmonton at all then. What do you...
I am. I swear I am totally... In Edmonton terms, that's totally Edmonton.
In Ontario, if you lived like 20 minutes from Toronto or half an hour from Toronto, you were in a suburb.
Oh, yeah. You're in the GTA.
You're in the GTA or you're in a suburb, right? That's what we would call it. But when you live on a farm outside of a major city, is it? It's not a suburb. Is it an outlaw? What do you call it?
Well... I don't know. I lived in Edmonton.
Okay, all right. It's an outlying plot of land. That's the long way of saying.
Because I couldn't just be like, oh yeah, I live nowhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing small world that we live in. That you're from Edmonton. That's wonderful. That's great. Well, thanks for being on the show as well, Tasy. It's nice to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. And Matt, finally, you're there.
Yes, I'm right here. Also in Montreal.
Yes. Are you from there originally, Matt?
Yeah, I've always lived in Montreal my whole life.
Oh.
It's almost time to leave this city, but it's been good. But when you live somewhere your whole life, sometimes you need to change. Anyways, yes, from Montreal, it's great. 5 minutes from Tasy. 1 minute from where Robin is.
You just anywayed a really significant piece of information. Are you seriously thinking of trying to get out of the city?
You should go to Edmonton.
Maybe, yes and no. Yeah, let's go to Edmonton. I mean, we'd all have to go. No, it's great. Montreal's great, but yeah, I've been here my whole life. And
I see.
The longer you live somewhere, the more you see a city change, and it starts to really bother you. But this is just the things that are bothering me here, just what's happening anywhere else in any other city. So,
do you want to just home in on that for a moment, though? What kinds of things are bothering you about Montreal? I'm always just curious.
I mean, just like the general things that kind of relate to what we're trying to do, like venues shutting down, just the cost of living going up. But I mean, no city is sheltered from any of this, so I don't think.
That's true.
That and the politics too. Yeah, the politics too in Quebec are not the greatest, and it can be really, really frustrating.
Oh, well, then you should definitely come to Alberta where the politics are great.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, that's it. There's nowhere else to go, so I guess I'm staying put for now.
Well, we moved here because, among other reasons, my wife's family is here. And within months of us getting here, my wife's father-in-law is like, we all need to leave. This place is terrible. I'm like, couldn't you have mentioned this before we hired the moving trucks? Like, good Lord, I didn't know. Because I called ahead to some people. I asked my friend Rolly Pemberton, who's from Edmonton, Cadence Weapon. Is Edmonton good? He's like, oh, it's great. I'd love to raise a family in Edmonton. I'm like, okay. And I will say, Edmonton is lovely. It's a big city, but it feels small. Like it has like a hominess to it. But the food is great and everything's great. But the politics are rough and particularly bad. And my wife and I, in recent months, are like, where else in Canada could we live? Nowhere. Yeah. There's nowhere great. Yeah. That's how we feel. Yeah. And sorry, Robin, I didn't ask you. Are you from Montreal originally?
No. No, yes. I grew up in Montreal. Like I've been here since I was 5, but I actually was born in Alberta, in Jasper, Alberta. And back then, it was only like the geriatric ward and then me at the hospital. But my mom grew up in Warburg, and she's back there now, which is about an hour away from Edmonton, just outside.
Okay. I did not know we all had Alberta connections, except for Matt, who's too scared to leave Montreal.
Just huge coward.
Just kidding. All of us moved except for Matt. Matt, are you just like envious of all of us because we decided we'd uproot ourselves? Is that what's going on?
Well, I grew up in the one city I would want to live in, so I was just
it's true.
Doomed from the beginning. So
I'm sorry the politics are bad, but Montreal is great. Like if it's in my top cities in the world. I really enjoy it. Of course, I don't know the local politics. I know some of the regional politics, provincial politics, but Anyway, that's remarkable. I had no idea. I have to plot my parents are coming to Alberta for the first time since we moved. So we have to plot a trip to, my dad's like, I want to see Banff. And I'm like, okay. All right. What do you want to see in Banff? I don't know. I'm like, oh, good. Okay. It's up to us to figure out.
That's the place I know to go.
Yes. They hear things. Yeah. So we're going to plot a trip to Jasper. I booked a hotel.
Nice.
And for those who don't know, Jasper, is it right to categorize Jasper, Robin, as like it's not a ski resort town. It's a ski town. It's a tourist.
It's a ski town.
Yeah, that's
touristy. Yeah, and it definitely got more touristy. Like the last time I was there, it was quite incredible how much they basically changed the town to this one uniform kind of cottagey look.
Yes.
That was a shame, and just mostly just touristy shops with trinkets and stuff, but it is gorgeous though. Yeah. It's beautiful. And then there's this one place, I don't know if it's still called Cabbage Patch Park, but if you happen to be wandering around in the middle of the night, it's usually full of elk. Yeah. Which is scary, super scary, because they're huge.
Yeah,
I actually had an elk farm, so there you go.
That is true.
You bred elk at your farm?
Yeah, we raised elk and deer.
Oh,
so we're all connected.
Is that for the that's for the meat? I assume.
Well, this was like a hobby farm. We didn't like at certain points it would be meat related to feed all the neighbors and stuff, but otherwise no. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, because when I was last in Canmore, like I guess 4 or 5 years, no, it was 6 years ago, I was jogging. And by the way, I was there for a week. And when we got there, we were staying at a place in the mountains. You had blue skies. And then each day you saw the mountains less because of the smoke. And I didn't really understand what wildfire smoke was in 2018. I don't think a lot of people here did. So I was jogging in the smoke. No. And I realize now that I probably did some damage. I didn't realize that no one said that. At the time, they were like, look out for bears. There are lots of bears around. Carry bear spray everywhere. And I was like, okay, that seems bad. But as I was running, elk, just in the middle of my path, and that wigged me out. I was like, what? Right. They're huge. They're scary. They're huge. Matt, we don't mean to exclude you here. Do you run into any bear or elk in Montreal?
No, I've never left the island of Montreal, so I've never seen any wildlife at all.
We only get oversized groundhogs here.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a groundhog the other day. It was amazing, and some squirrels, but that's about it.
It was amazing.
I miss the eastern.
Oh my God.
I miss the Eastern Canada squirrels. They tend to call the little chipmunks here squirrels, and I'm like, that's not a squirrel.
Yeah, no.
That is a chipmunk.
Little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Quite different.
Matt, you guys have the big squirrels, right, with the black tails, and they're big.
We have the eastern gray squirrel. I know so much about squirrels being my only exposure to wildlife. No, that's not even true. I think they're just a regular gray squirrel.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to be talking about squirrels so much all of a sudden.
I think it's just
You never know what's going to happen on the show. Sometimes you end up talking about squirrels or the giant rabbit. I saw a dog chasing a giant wild rabbit today on my way back from dropping my kids off. So they're huge. The rabbits are the size of small dogs here in Alberta.
They're incredible. Yeah.
I had a nice experience related. I think Matt wants to talk about the band, and I agree. Let's talk about the band some more. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it's funny because we can talk about we can talk about everything, and we go off on tangents, and then the next thing you know, we're talking about squirrels. So it's fun.
I was walking.
It's exactly right.
It's exactly right. I was walking back from dropping my son off at school, and then I was walking back to meet my wife and my daughter, and then I'm not going to tell you my whole itinerary. It's not interesting, but I ran into a fellow dad, and he had his earbuds in, and I had my AirPods in or whatever that I got recently. And I said, we took them out. I said, what are you listening to? He's like, oh, Sunny Day Real Estate.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're old. We're old, right? Where the dads are all old. We have gray hair, and we have our AirPods and our Patagonia vests and whatnot. And I said, because he and I, we look exactly the same. Like, it's the exact outfits. And I said, oh, you should check out Big Brave. He's like, what? I was like, oh my God, this new Big Brave album. It's amazing. And he immediately added it to his music library thing. So I just want you to know, I'm not just here to talk about elk and rabbits and squirrels. I'm here to walk around my neighborhood and tell people about your band. Congratulations.
How did you know he was a dad? You just
I know Nathan. His name is Nathan.
Oh, you know this person.
No,
okay.
I wasn't. No, sorry. I wasn't like a meet cute or something. No, I was like, hey, Patagonia vest, AirPods. Yeah. Let's talk about music. He loaned me some albums. I want to say 2 years ago that I haven't listened to yet. So we have a running bit that I say, I got to get your records back. I'm sorry. And I didn't loan him anything. So I feel badly. So that was my way of being like, hey, I owe you one. Check out Big Brave. And he was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to listen. He didn't say it was great. He just added it. Anyway, my point is, congratulations on your new wonderful record. You must be feeling good about it. I want to ask you about taking it on the road and all those sorts of things. Plus Marisa Anderson, and you have some great guests. This is wonderful. Mm-hmm. I think just to get into it, though, for people who aren't familiar with your band, we should kind of figure out where it kind of came from. I understand maybe Matt and Robin. Did you two meet first, Robin? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. We were actually roommates first, and I needed a room, and Matheiu and his roommate had a room, and then Matheiu saw that I had a crappy acoustic guitar, and he's like, oh, you play? And I'm like, no, I know 3 or 4 chords. And he's like, oh, let's jam. And we would, and we did living room jams, and mostly just the 3 songs I learned, and then whatever else we did, and we started writing together. And just making music in our living room with friends, pretty much.
Yeah,
and
that would be 15 years ago now, which is wild.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 and a half years ago. Holy cow. Yeah.
Is this bad news? You make this seem like this. We spent too much time together. That was that.
No, it's like the better part of my life, not half my life, but pretty close. So, it's kind of cool to sit with that and look back.
No, it's wonderful. Now you had an acoustic guitar and you knew 3 chords, I think is what you said.
3 chords. Yes. And he's like, oh, you can kind of sing. And I'm like, I guess. And then that was the beginning of just making music together. And then we got what ended up being a mutual friend of ours, but a friend of Matheiu's. He ended up playing some drums, and we had a bunch of different people come in and out, just as like a ambient folk, weird outfit, I guess. And then Matheiu accidentally broke the acoustic guitar that I was using. It was his in the end. I ended up using his because mine was so crappy. And and it was like the perfect opportunity for me to try my hand at amplification for the first time, really, and use an electric guitar. Keep in mind, I'm 25. Was I 25? I was 20.
Oh, you were 25 15 years ago.
I was 25 15 years ago.
Okay,
and this is the first time I'm ever, yeah. I am not 25 now. I did not start when I was 10.
Yeah.
Matheiu, we need to talk. No. So I had never really played music or sang, and I had always wanted to learn how to play the electric guitar, because the acoustic guitar for me was just too uncomfortable, because I have miniature sausage fingers and miniature childlike hands, and pressing a steel string acoustic guitar was just painful, and the electric guitar is so much more easier to play. And because Matheiu had been playing in bands ever since he was so young, not to speak for you, Matheiu, but he had just a bunch of gear. I borrowed a friend's electric guitar that I'm still using. It's mine now. I bought it though. But and then because we were also both in art school, we conceptualized what we wanted to do with the music before we actually played or wrote anything. And because I had such a basic understanding of what I could do, and because I had no formal training, it was all kind of experimentation. And so we had to write around my non-existent skills, so to speak.
Okay.
So minimalism was a concept for many reasons. One being that we wrote for the live performance, because Matheiu introduced me at the time to John Cage's 433 and Tony Conrad and Steve Reich, and we loved the idea of tension and amplification to the point of loudness, not necessarily heaviness, but also dynamics. And so we did our best with the tools that we had, very minimal instrumentation, and to kind of pursue that and explore that.
So you're primarily on guitar and vocals. We can establish that now. Matt, what were your primary instruments at the time, 15 years ago?
It was either just the electric guitar, but I was also learning banjo at that time. So it was kind of, I was coming out of playing in louder bands, and those had all broken up. And then, so we were just playing quiet music at home, and then it was a good time to learn a new instrument also. And so that kind of made it into the mix. But I immediately built a contact mic for the banjo that I ran through effects. So it wasn't like your typical fast kind of bluegrassy banjo. It was much slower and a bit more dreamier. So it was always like, however folk the music was, there was always that experimental side to it. And that was kind of, those are the roots of how we started making music together.
You a fan of like Eugene Chadbourne or anybody like that?
I've never heard of that person.
He's a experimental sort of, among the instruments he plays is banjo, and but he's kind of more in the jazz realm. And I as you were talking, by the way, so forgive my ignorance on this, but I kind of think of the banjo as something of a drone instrument. I know most people might not think of it that way. They might associate it with bluegrass, country, folk music. Are you coming to the banjo at that point as like, oh, this is a experimental piece of equipment that I can do different kinds of things with? Is that
totally. I mean, it has a drone string on it. That's what it's called, is that top string that's always open. And that's kind of always been my approach to the stringed instrument, is utilizing the open strings as much as possible. It's just like the full length of the string is always what I find has its you get the most harmonic qualities out of it. But yeah, the banjo is a drone instrument. Like you're playing the chords and all, but you always have this.
Yes.
It's a high string instead of like you think of like drone music as a low down tune thing, but you have this thing that's just over the whole piece you're playing. So yeah, it made sense to kind of like go really dive into that direction with the instruments and add reverb and really kind of take advantage of the drone possibilities of it.
Yeah, so as we talk about drone, we talk about reverb, we talk about letting things play out. We're kind of talking about the perpetual sound, I guess is a way. I was going to say sound in perpetuity, but this notion of sound starting and then just sort of riding a wave out. Matt, you heard something in what Robin, in her 3 chords, what she describes as rudimentary. You saw something there. Do you have a sense of what you saw? And you also, it sounds like she was like, you identified the fact that Robin could sing. So something was going on. Do you remember? Do you have any sense of memory of what it was going on there that you were like, I think there's something to this person?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really thought about it. It's just like it was fun to play music together, and it was the beginning of a friendship also. But yeah, it kind of made sense where, without even knowing it, I think we were into minimalism and like playing quite simple songs. I mean, that's like a 3-chord folk song. I mean, not that folk music is necessarily considered minimalist music, but it is at the same time. But it just, Robin's voice and the way she played guitar and the way that she was willing to like immediately experiment with the acoustic guitar. Like we immediately split it into like 2 amps, like a dry signal and a super washed out signal. And so it was just really fun and interesting since the beginning. Like we're just like immediately we're like, okay, let's do this, but let's mess around with these simple tools we have.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, thanks for listening to Creative Control, as always. As you may have heard me mention, I recently lost my day job, and I've had a few conversations with people since who've said, you had a day job? I thought your podcast was your day job. When I explained why it hasn't been my day job to a friend, he suggested I should share some of this information with people like you listening right now. So, in short, unless they have some giant exclusive $1 million contract, podcasters are not paid to make stuff by companies like Apple and Spotify. Podcasters do not make any money from streaming royalties. Ad revenue is dependent on a certain threshold of downloads each month, and even if your show is accessed 30,000 times a month, the income you get is actually really minimal. So podcasters like me usually make time in our lives to support our communities and our interests to make these shows, and our most reliable source of income for this work is in fact crowdfunding. In my case, it's my Patreon. So if you'd like to receive ad-free episodes earlier than everyone else, regular newsletters and blog posts, bonus audio content, and support my work, quite literally, please visit patreon.com/creativecontrol today. Matt, I also hear tell that you destroyed a guitar. I should ask about that before I ask Tasy about her own involvement in the band. I assume you broke the guitar warding off squirrels. What were you, how did you smash the guitar?
Well, they made it into the house, and it was absolute chaos. And I was using the guitar to try to ward off the squirrels. But I just stepped on it, and it broke. And I think I fixed it. That guitar still exists, but it was just like at that moment, we were like, we bored an electric guitar, and then. Like I said, I was like in loud bands before, so these amps that I had just like came back out slowly. But that really, it sounds like a made up story, but
no, it's really true.
It's how Robin switched to the electric guitar.
You had to break folk music for Big Brave to find its sound. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey.
Yeah. It's like
I like that.
The opposite of Pete Seeger taking the axe to the wires.
I was just thinking of Pete Seeger. Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Oh,
You wanted her to go electric, I guess. You're the anti Pete Seeger is what I'm getting at. Okay.
Pete Seeger was like, you know what? We've done enough of this. Let's amplify up here.
I have more to ask about these explorations, but again, I feel like I've neglected Tasy. Tasy, how did you enter the fold here? Based on what Robin was saying earlier, there might have been some other percussionists, drummers in the mix at some point. But how did you enter the fold in this dynamic?
I think it was a lot of just good timing for a lot of things. Robin and I were friends, and Louis, I think, was, I don't know, I won't speak for what was really going on, or I just don't really understand whatever.
Well, just
So
sorry
I'm
to
just gonna
Doesn't
nod.
concern
Yeah.
me.
Whatever.
sorry,
Just like,
but
cool, yeah.
sorry to interject there. Who wants to identify who this mysterious Louis individual
Well,
is?
that's
OG
just the original drummer.
Yeah.
Original drummer. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he couldn't tour anymore, and this happens in bands all the time. So,
And sorry, how long was Louis in the fold?
the beginning till 2018,
Oh.
so like 4 or 5 years.
Okay. So quite a long time.
Yeah,
Okay.
the first 3 records
Okay.
are with Louis.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, just for those wondering. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tasy. So
No,
you-
that was helpful because I wasn't explaining it at all, so that's good.
everyone knows Louis. Everyone listening is aware of the Louis situation. We call it the Louis situation. Okay, so Louis was in the band, and then he by his own volition, it sounds like he left. Okay.
Yeah. And then, then you were about to record. They were about to record another album. So then they had, another drummer kind of fill in for the recording. And then that was around the time too, where I was just trying to figure out, just trying to, make a living in music and just doing these jobs that just sucked. I was at a warehouse and I just kept getting tendinitis, and it was just come on, this is impossible. So I quit that, and then I just kind of dove head in to just playing as much music as I could, and then and then it worked out that they were going to be touring as they always do. So then we did a little tryout where I learned the drum parts down to the fills and everything, and then just showed up to a jam unannounced, was hear me out. Hear me now.
How'd you get a key? Hear me now. What? How did you even know we were
just showed
here?
up.
Why is your drums already set up? This is so crazy.
Do that.
Is it sorry, I don't know your background as a drummer there, Tasy. There's part of this that seems very challenging to me as a drummer myself, but also that minimalism means that you are, I think, you're stopping, you're starting, you're coming in, you're coming out. There's that aspect of it. That in itself can be challenging for a drummer. It's come on, man, I just want to play a 4/4 beat here. What are you guys doing to me? Is this, I don't know what got you into drumming, first of all? Did you have influences that got you into it?
I don't know. I just always remember just being interested in music and always playing on stuff, and I got a hold of some drumsticks, was just in the car on the way to school, just hitting the poor headrest the whole time. And then I got a snare drum.
That sounds irritating
terrible.
as hell. Yeah.
I know, but it gets worse because then my parents got me a snare drum. So then I was bringing the snare drum in the car.
What?
Hitting the snare drum. It was a 20-minute drive to school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was
Your parents. Wow.
You know what's
Very loving and very patient.
very patient.
That is
Okay,
Yeah.
not to take away from what
Please.
for Tasy's time, but I just want to say that Tasy told me a story about when you were a kid writing music, again, I think Tasy, not to speak for you, I'm so sorry, but this is such a lovely story, but you just have always been interested in music and always playing music. But Tasy told me that she would wake her parents up at something like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning because she had just finished a song and wanted to show them.
Yeah, it was
And they
fully
would wake up.
recorded and and listen.
And they would wake up and listen.
Wow, that's
Holy crap.
on the one hand, that's a really lovely and endearing story about parenting. On the other, when you live on a farm on the outskirts of Edmonton, You're bored. You want to be entertained at all hours of the what? Okay, yeah, I got nothing else going on. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Yeah, I had like a loft with I had a piano, I had guitar and a drum set and like a bunch of keyboard stuff. So a computer. So that's all I was doing.
I didn't know the snare story in the car for 20 minutes. Like, holy
I know, because that was before I understood like the difference between drum sounds. And I was like, oh yeah, everyone's just hitting on a thing. And then just without understanding that there's like a kick drum and like toms and stuff. So I was like, deep, 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 deep.
Well, that is adorable. And Matt, I assume this would now shed some light on why Tasy does this when you guys are on tour.
Yes.
In the van.
I gotta have my snare drum.
Why on earth?
Actually, Tasy sleeps more than anyone else in the van. Yeah. It's insane. It's just like we all share driving duties, but until it's like Tasy's turn to drive,
I'm fully asleep.
Her hood is on her face tied as tightly as possible, and Tasy's just like out. And they were like, Tasy, 15 minutes, you can drive. It's like, yeah, let's stop. I'll pee, get a coffee, and then good to go, and then back to sleep. It's just
yeah.
You exhausted yourself.
One of the reasons as a road manager, there's a few reasons as a road manager I would do all the driving. One, more or less straight edge, no drinking, no drugs over here. Okay. So I was like, okay, you can drive. I'm like, yes, I can drive. Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I don't sleep. I can't sleep in vehicles. Partially probably like a bit of a control issue thing. Like I'd rather just be driving than sitting there doing nothing kind of thing. So that's just me. Sorry. But Tasy, going back to this for a second though, is Big Brave a noisier or challenging or more distinct expression for you as a musician than maybe previous bands you've been in?
Yeah. In all aspects for sure. And it took me a while to really like fully understand that too. Cause I mean, I would always try to like kind of throw in some dynamics there and then be like, no, like it's literally just this, and as hard as you possibly can every single time. So that's not a natural instinct. Just like, trying to play to different people all the time and stuff. So so then a lot of it, you're kind of filling in a lot of the blanks too, just like in your head, and in your body, because you can't like lose focus at any point for those things. So just understanding how to go. It's like 100% all the time, but 100% also means not doing anything. So it's like in between those moments and stuff. Yeah.
It seems to me that it requires a particular focus. And I don't know who is best to speak to this, but there's a song on your new record called Not Speaking of the Ways. And as it comes on my speakers, or in today's case, on my AirPods when I'm running into random dads, I initially think, is this song glitching out? There are these really strange rhythmic pauses that you guys all do, and I can't wrap my head around it. I've been listening to music for 1,000 years, and I'm like, but like at first I'm like, oh shit, something wrong with the file, and then it happens every time, and it's this might seem like a weird thing to dial into, but Tasy, I'll go to you on this first, because it's to me it's like it's a weird stop start that I'm not used to hearing in a song that seems to be about sustaining sound, and then just glitches out. I don't know. Sorry, is any of this resonating with you? Is that happening?
No, totally.
Okay, it's not my file. This is actually part of the song.
Recall the masters.
Being like,
screw this up.
No.
So this is
all the downloads.
This is a conscious choice. Tasy, do you have any recall on how you? Because as a drummer, I would find that a little challenging. It seems like a little thing probably to most drummers and most people, but I'd be like, oh shit, we have to stop, come back, kind of thing in succession. Can you talk about how you arrived at that particular part just for a moment? I'm just curious.
Well, I think Matheiu and I were playing together, and Robin at that time, I think were we all playing together, and then maybe we were doing an overdub after that. It was just the two of us, and then we kind of refocused afterwards. But either way, Matheiu and I were kind of looking at each other through a little window, and just really, we were playing off of each other while also playing off of Robin, and it was very much just vibing it out for sure.
Okay.
And just really kind of feeling when to push and when to pull and stuff. But but there's also, I think Seth had some ideas too, who we're recording with, and kind of some placement ideas for sure. I think that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, some of it might be the side chain. Also, is this thing we keep doing more and more, where like as Tasy hits the kick affects other things that makes certain sounds drop out.
Yeah,
also, is that like that vacuum sound? Maybe that's what you're.
Yeah, that's it.
To?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know enough about stuff, but that sounds about right. So you're saying it's like a trigger.
It's a trigger, and then you can, instead of a certain sound making other things happen, it actually
it just pulls it down,
retracts. So it's like when there's kick, like
almost cancels out.
You can associate one element to another. So it'd be like kick would cut cymbals or something, and then because it's like on a grid, it becomes very rhythmic. And so that mixed with the Tasy's decisions on that, like the cymbal pattern.
Oh yeah, sorry, I got mixed up also in my song. So cancel what I said. Start over with
no, I think it's a mix of both, because it is just like kind of a really simple, but kind of the way we change is like very gradual and intricate, and that mixed with the side chain, which is like, also I just learned what
it's
this
just
is,
it's just compression.
It keeps happening. But,
By the way, Tasy, if you want to retract anything you say, you just have to hit your kick pedal. It'll just suck it back, and no one will hear what you said. Side chain? Can you? Sorry, Matt.
It's just side chain compression.
What? I don't know. Can you, for those listening and myself? Sometimes I used to do a trick where if I didn't know, by the way, guys, this is a trick I learned. If I don't know something, I'll go like, hey, tell the people listening what you're talking about. And then I don't seem dumb. I'm like, I, of course, know exactly what you're referring to. But for those who don't, but in this case, I will cop to it. Sorry, Tasy, can you explain it a little bit further, what a side chain is in relation to? I think I get
definitely
it.
Not very well, but it's just compression where you're just like, you're like linking it to another sound, and you can do it to like a bunch of different sounds too, but it's a lot of tricks for recording. It's just so that like you link up the kick and the bass very often, so that the kick comes through, so you still get the attack of it while you still get the bass, like that's, kind of doing that. So, but if you go really extreme, and that's like in a lot of dance music and stuff, you have the pulse, so everything else ducks down to let the pulse come in. So it's just linking up compression and just getting the attack, and then you can affect the release of that so that it stays down for a while before it comes back up, and that's where you get the really dramatic effects of like, so with this we did everything was just ducking down and then coming back up slowly and stuff. So and I don't even think we have the attack of the kick that's coming through. It's just like you just get the thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it vacuums out. It's very ear catching. And for idiots like me, it's like, is my phone broken? What's going on? Something's not right. So it's very fascinating.
You'll hear it. Just like at the end of Theft, I think, if you like, there's another moment where it happens. Is a quite loud cymbal wash, and you'll hear a ducking also. So I don't know if you're like it's here and there around the record, all over the record, but that's another moment I can think of where is that exact same kind of concept. That's happening.
Oh yeah, I think the reason I pointed out that particular song is because it seems the most dramatic. It seems like the most like, something is purposely being kind of disrupted. Like something is beautifully being disrupted and coming back, and it just creates this like, whoa, what's going on with this song? So, Robin, I was listening to your new album, A Chaos of Flowers, in the kitchen on the speakers. And then I was listening to I think it's the previous album is Nature Mort, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Nature Morte, yeah.
Thank you. My French has not been the same since grade 8, grade 9. Man, I just spoke with, do you guys know Myriam Gendron?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had a nice chat with her, and I copped to the fact that my French is My kids are in French immersion. My kids make fun of me for my French. I apologize. But anyway, my point here is I had your music playing in the kitchen, and my wife walked in and she said, "Are you listening to metal?" And I was like, I don't
Good
know.
question.
I don't know if I'm listening to metal. And so
The question of the century.
Robin, like, you come from folk, but rudimentary folk. Like, I didn't even ask you this, I meant to. Like, what got you to the point that you owned even a crappy guitar and learned 3 chords? I'm curious about that. But secondly, you are in this tradition of folk, drone. You know, when we think about folk music and drone music, they're very related. And now in an age of post-rock and drone bands, like, maybe you're in that tradition too, but I think they're all very linked. So I want to talk about the sound a little bit, and obviously I want to talk about the unique concept of this album, the new one, in terms of the poetry you're invoking. So lots to get to. I'm just making a little verbal list of things I want to get to before we run out of time, because I know you guys are busy. But let's get to the thing I was talking about first. How did you even come to own a guitar and learn 3 chords? What spurred that on?
Well, my mom had a guitar, like an acoustic guitar, growing up, but then it got lost in the plenty of moves that we did. So I had been interested just because my mom used to play and sing. I had an old tape of her that she recorded herself that very, very sadly got lost.
Oh, no.
So that was already intriguing to me. I just didn't have the resources to, like, when I was a kid, for myself to just pick it up and try. I was just preoccupied with other things. But it was when I was younger. I was 19. I went to Vancouver to meet some friends that ended up leaving before I got there. And this was back in the time where email was just starting to become a thing, but you still had to go to cafes and to check your email, but they had left. And so I was like stranded in Vancouver alone. And there is a person that I befriended who had an acoustic guitar, a really, really, really crappy acoustic guitar. And I fiddled around with that for a little bit. And then I brought it across the country, didn't really pick it up until a separate friend of mine before I met Matheiu had also been interested in like bluegrass and folk and country, not new country, old, like the old country. Sure. And we would play just again in the living room. And you know, that was like about a year before I met Matheiu, but very, very sparsely, like here and there, I would just play. And like, I was crawling on the fretboard, like, you know, like that very basic understanding, like my stupid little fingers are like, where is the thing? There it is. And that's sort of just how it started, really. And yeah.
I feel like learning acoustic guitar. Matt, you're more. It sounds like at least in this grouping, you're the most seasoned guitar player. I used to tell my son that acoustic guitar is better to learn first because it's actually harder, and then that, in a sense, will make playing electric guitar easier. Is that? Hey, Matt, is that dumb? Is that a dumb idea?
No, but I was also told that, but I guess it makes sense. I don't know. Yeah, it's harder because you have to press harder on the frets to get a sound, so maybe it just makes your hands stronger. Yeah, but really, other than that,
I think
maybe I don't know how. Maybe
just so
more complicated
expensive to get electric stuff, and then you got to get.
Yeah,
an
I think it's just parents.
Then,
Parents who don't want to get like a loud amp. You're like, no, you got to start with the acoustic. But that's what happened to me. Also, I'm like, I want an electric guitar, like, and for some reason, I got the acoustic first, and then as I committed to it, my parents did get me the electric guitar and a tiny little practice amp, but
for my money, by the way, like there's access to all sorts of amplification, electric. There's like 5 electric guitars in this house. Like there's plenty of choice. There's two acoustics. I just meant from a learning perspective. It's the same reason I was like, maybe you should take piano lessons. And my son does it. My daughter's like, no, that's his thing. I'm not even going to learn anything. Screw you. I don't care. I can sing. I can sing and I can draw. That's good enough. That's her deal. So she can, and that's true. But my son is like every few months, like, do I have to keep taking piano? I'm like, I still think it's a language that will help you at some point. You may not think of it that way, but music is like a language. You can sit in a room and with a perfect stranger and play, and they'll play with you, and you're talking to each other in a weird way. And he's like, I'm sick of this speech. Leave me alone. I'm 12, and I just want to listen to JID and Kendrick Lamar. That's where we're at.
I mean, I feel like maybe starting with an acoustic instrument, now that I'm like thinking about it for the first time, it's with the acoustic, you can't hide behind like, even like a little practice amp will have like the distortion or reverb, but to just start off with just a purely acoustic instrument to kind of try to get a nice, pleasing sound out of it. It's just like, it's fully naked. So I don't know. It's kind of a nice way to start understanding sound and making sound from something where it's just like, it's just the string and a piece of wood. So, and then maybe if you can do that, then start playing around with all the gizmos that are available to anyone. But
that's true. It acclimatizes your ear, I suppose, to the purity of the sound. I never even thought of it. Man, we're getting to some good stuff today. Squirrels and drone and whatever. Yeah, no, it's good.
That's all I care about, squirrels and guitar music. So
Tasy, I just want to go back to you. Actually, no, Matt, sorry. I was trying to clumsily converse with my wife about what Big Brave was all about. If you have to, if you're put in a position by a relative or an interviewer in Edmonton who wonders, how do you categorize or describe Big Brave? Where do you land usually, Matt?
I think I would just say an experimental band because, I mean, forever. So, like, non-metal people will hear us and we're too loud and we're, like, automatically metal.
Yes.
But then, like, metalheads don't consider us metal.
No.
And I don't think we're a metal band either. But we use the same guitars and levels on the amps that metal people do. So that's where it all comes in. But we're always like, we've never fit in either of those. It's like, it's too metal or not metal enough. And really, like, that's clearly never bothered us that we don't fit in. But I would just say at this point, looking back at everything we've done, just kind of experimental, loud guitar driven band, I guess. And now it's not as loud anymore, but it is. And
are there contemporary artists that you feel like you have a connection with based on what you're doing? I think of it as quite distinct. However, knowing I'm not, you know what? I was about to say some people and I'm not gonna, because you never know where that's going to go. Do you feel like you have contemporaries, Matt?
I mean, for this band and just like what we take from it's just everything. I don't know, the Marisa Anderson, but also like on the same label, Sumac, who is like a really great experimental metal band. So it's just like, there's no one thing. It's just, we just take from so many different parts of music and different genres that I think that's the only way to sum it up.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do want to say though, I think a lot of the time we get categorized as metal because we were on a metal label.
That too,
Southern Lord, is that the one?
Southern Lord, yeah. And because of that, and because there were elements of like doom and drone, the people that listened to us were open to that being an okay genre to put ourselves in, to put the band in. Never thought we were metal. And then it gets like more complicated via like post metal, post drone,
post rock,
doom stuff, stuff like that. And so I'm just, nothing fits and nothing ever had fit. And we never really sought out a specific type of, genre. We only, like Metzger said, we're just experimenting.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair enough. Tasy, do you want to weigh in on this? Like, do you consider yourself a metal drummer? Do you consider yourself anything? Or are you just doing what you guys do?
Yeah, I don't think I'm a metal drummer at all. Sometimes I try blast beats at the jam space. But that's it.
Successfully.
Thank you. No, I don't know. I don't know. It just feels so different from like, I don't know. I'm also more of like a pop or like kind of indie, or whatever kind of music. So I don't have many reference points to, to what metal is. So
yeah, maybe noise rock is the closest thing. I don't even know what that means. It's 2 words.
Yeah.
Is there a squirrel in your shot there?
Yeah, Matheiu, help.
I saw a fluffy tail go by, and I was like, is that some sort of domestic shark? What was that? I don't know what that was.
I'll go get my acoustic guitar, and I'll get Matheiu to come over here, and maybe we'll start another band.
It'll redirect the whole course of this band once again.
There is a funny thing that Matheiu had with a squirrel on the balcony.
Oh,
he was looking outside. This was a couple winters ago. He was looking outside and he just noticed this squirrel come up with a full Eggo waffle in its mouth. And the squirrel was like eyeing him, like challenging him in this way, posturing almost. And Matheiu's like, what are you doing? And then it came down onto the balcony and was looking at him, and then pitched the Eggo waffle down onto the balcony, and then looked back up and was like, what? And then left. Came back and did it with a half a bagel or something, Matheiu. I forget. Anyway,
I don't want to talk about this incident.
Yeah,
such a
squirrel freak. Traumatized.
I'm really shocked that the squirrel community is aware of the Lego My Eggo marketing campaign. That's clearly what was going on. They misunderstood. Okay, I want to talk about the conceptual aspect of A Chaos of Flowers. But I also alluded to and mispronounced your last album's name. I just want to talk about the distinction between the 2 albums first, sonically, because I think there is one. I'm going to go to Matt on this in terms of what you did on a record that came out about a year ago now, 2023. What was your mindset going into making A Chaos of Flowers, and how would you distinguish the 2 in terms of their attack, their approach?
Yeah, they were made so close to one another that they are kind of linked, but at the same time not.
They're quite
really
different, I think, myself, if I may be objective about it. But I do understand that you guys feel like there's some continuity because of maybe, like you say, when they were made. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's even a song on Chaos of Flowers that we recorded for Nature Morte, but it didn't fit, and it fit on this one. But even during the recording of Nature Morte, with Seth, who we've made 5 or 6 records now, as we were starting that session, we're like, okay, we'll make another loud record of the boom boom pause is what our riffs have been described as. And we're like, okay, we've done this
quite
for
accurately.
Yeah, we've done this for 8 years, and I think it's great, but maybe we've exhausted this. So already when we were recording that record, we were thinking about the next one. We're let's make a quiet record. And so as soon as that session was done and we had time before touring, there was already time to start writing songs. And the mindset was let's make a quiet record now. Okay. And it didn't turn out necessarily quiet. I mean, it's just there's no crashing drums, but in the end it's still quite it's loud, covered in feedback, and it requires amplitude to do that. But yeah, we just all at the same time, Seth said it as we were saying it. We were like, okay, we'll do this, we'll finish this, but next one, let's do something different. Yeah. Let's make something quiet, and let's write some songs. So from that point on, we just, between tours, the music we were writing just became what this record was. Yeah. I mean, I did start to, whenever we decide we're going to make a record, I start making playlists also of things we'd like to rip off, for the lack of a better term, just to set the mood. And I got into Gene Ritchie, who's a dulcimer player, quite a bit, and then that kind of those were the first parts we wrote and continued on from there.
Okay. Tasy, can you characterize Seth's role in this band at this point as a producer and as a collaborator? What does he kind of bring to the fold, and what did he bring to the fold? I think Matt just alluded to okay, guys, we've been doing something together for a while. What do you want to do next, kind of thing? How would you characterize what he does, and also what he brought to this particular batch of songs?
I think, he did a lot for this record, I think. And there's just a lot of shaping and a lot of good direction that he's really good at directing and just being okay, now you actually do this, and but still listening to us too, but he does and we all 3 of us wanted or four of us want to try anything. So we kind of, we definitely left room for him, going into the studio. So we left room that we did not rehearse, and then, kind of let him have a voice. And I'm very glad we did too. He's got a good set of ears for sure, and understands what the band is doing. And like, he's kind of been growing with it. So he kind of sees the same stuff, I think.
Yeah, we're really on the same page at this point where it's really fun to keep working with the same person and to develop this relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, he really is a member of the band when we're in the studio with him. And
we say, what are we going to do next? Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
It's so much
definitely
fun.
Definitely an integral part. Yeah.
It's the blurry distinction of a producer these days. I find when bands keep working with the same producer, I'm like, come on. They're in the band. They may not go on the road with you, but they're
absolutely.
They're basically part of the creative process.
Actually, one cool thing that he did is for the drums especially is like, we'll minimize what we're gonna put in the room when I'm gonna play it too. Like we just so that there's, limit the options that you're gonna even hit. Like, so for some things, it's just like a room of like maybe a hi-hat, maybe like 3 cymbals, and maybe something with a bunch of different stick options or brushes or whatever. So you're also, or like for a crazy like jazzy kind of rock part, then we'll have also just like maybe just a snare and a rack tom and maybe a kick that I might not even hit. Like, so he was also good at he presents you with some stuff too, with discussion, of course, but that was I would say that's a big part that he did too.
That's cool. That's great. I want to go to Robin next, because I think a fundamental part of A Chaos of Flowers, is these beautifully sung. I don't know where we were in the conversation when, one of you, maybe it was you, Robin, self-effacingly, suggested that you couldn't really sing when you first started out, but my God, the singing is so wonderful, and I appreciate it. But let's talk about the lyrical concept, I suppose, is a way of putting it. Can you explain it to the people listening, and also where it kind of came from?
Yeah, certainly. So I'll start where it came from, and go from there. But we did a collaboration record with The Body that was heavily based on Lee Buford's concept of making an Americana record, because him and Chip are from Arkansas and we are from Canada, like the band. And so
you mean like the band, like
the band. Yeah.
I mean, that was the joke. Yeah, Levon Helm's from Arkansas, and Robbie Robertson from Toronto. For Americans, that's close enough.
My guys. My son is named Levon. So so we have a bit. We're a band house here, by the way, and one of the highlights of my work on this podcast is having Robbie Robertson on. Rest in peace, which was good. But as a fan of the band, you have this, the dynamic, there's the lore about how the rest of the band fared in the royalties and all that stuff. So you're like, Robbie was kind of, unfortunately, made to be the villain of it, maybe, and who knows what was really going on. But I did mention to him that my son was named Levon as a way at the end. I was like, just to be like, I'm a big fan of what you've done. He went, oh, that's great. Levon wasn't his real name. I was like, what? No. Like, why? He's like, it was actually Levon. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I was trying to be. Anyway, I love Robbie Robertson. Rest in peace. But he just had to do this little thing at the end. It wasn't his real name. And who knows? Maybe he was just trolling me, but it was kind of funny. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to suggest I relate to the Arkansas, Canada joke is what I'm getting at. Sorry about that.
Yes. Yeah. No. But, that's great, because we're also huge fans of the band, as are The Body as well. Yeah. And, So we were just like, great, let's try to figure that out. Anyway, when it came time to writing the lyrics, I didn't know I was going to be in charge of that. And halfway through the first day of recording, Lee comes up to me. He's like, so you got any words? And I'm like, what? And we had just finished recording Vital. So I was like tapped out. And that's why we were still at the studio when we did this collab. So I was tapped out and I didn't know what to do, but I had always, coming from, learning folk songs and writing ambient folk from the beginning of this musical trajectory that I've been on. I went back to a deep dive into traditional folk and Appalachian and music, like old timey music, and with regards to not just melody but words, lyrics, and ballads and hymns, etc. And so that was really, really fun to do. And I thought maybe I could try that with A Chaos of Flowers, but quickly realized that I felt good at leaving that deep dive with the collaboration record, and that it wasn't fitting with, it just wasn't working. And so then it just got me thinking about poetry. I always think about poetry, even though I'm not like an avid reader of poetry, but I have been reading poetry ever since I can remember. And I having to write lyrics for these these songs that ever since the band started, I often think about poetry and what it means. And I'm only really familiar with some contemporary poets, if that at all. But so I went into a deep dive, checking out what was available, what was part of the public domain, what I could use, maybe get inspired. And then I quickly realized that the poems that were available were, I couldn't really relate to them as much as for many reasons, maybe on an emotional level or theoretical level. But it was just a bunch of, like, not to be crass, but really a bunch of dead white dudes that come from a little bit of privilege, I would have to say. Yeah. And it's just not a narrative I understand. So then I started thinking about, what do where are the people that I might be able to relate to? And then I just like talk about a deep dive for months and months and months. I was over and on my computer, and bless the Internet Archive for having things that I didn't even know I could find. And then I quickly, not actually, no, this was a bit of a slower realization, but a lot of the poets that I did relate to, were people of color, were mixed race, queer, lesbian, political activists, or challenged the societal norms at the time, kind of thing, that, and shared a lot of like, if when I looked at their work and quickly skimmed their work individually, separately from each other, there was a lot of very similar narratives by way of internal struggle and mental collapse and beauty and nature and lust and stuff. And so I did find that extremely interesting, that I still feel the same way. Some people that I've spoken to about this feel the same way. And these emotions and thought processes and issues or not, or whatever, kind of are a bit transcendental by way of time and like culture, like cross-cultural
poems from the 19th century would still resonate today. Sadly, generally, in a sense, quite sadly. Yeah, I did. Thank you for that explanation. I didn't mean to interject, but I just wanted to ask you about your approach to this, because I went and tracked down all the poems that that you have adapted here, and I couldn't help but notice that in some cases, like in I Felt a Funeral, This is almost word for word Emily Dickinson's poem, I Felt a Funeral in My Brain. Yeah. But then as we get to the second song, which I've already alluded to, Not Speaking of the Ways, unless my internet is incorrect, that seems not word for word. Is that a way of putting it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because there are many, for that Akiko Yosano adaptation, there are so many different translations out there for the one verse of Not Speaking of the Ways. And so I ended up having to amalgamate and puzzle together something that I believed, from what I understood of her history and her writing, and based on all of the translations that I came across, I amalgamated just for that first verses, I don't know, but what I thought truly evoked in the best way possible what she might have been trying to say. I don't speak or read Japanese, so of course I don't know. But she also, a lot of those verses are tanka verses. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, Tanka, which is most similar to like writing haikus, but very different, and have more of a visceral kind of metaphorical concept behind them. And so I pick and chose the ones that I loved the most, and that seemed to have to, there were like it was like maybe had a thread tying them together.
I want to go to Matt and Tasy on just their reception to this idea. I assume, Robin, you led the notion of what these songs would be, I guess, about in this case, the adaptation part. Let's start with Matt. Matt, what did you make of this as a concept for a Big Brave record?
I thought it was a great idea. I mean, we've done, like Robin said, she had done this for the Body record, and I don't know, we've made so many records together, and I always love what Robin comes up with, whether she uses her own words or old folk songs from the public domain. And I thought this was quite an interesting concept also, and to find these poems that Robin related to from, I don't know, 50, 100 years ago, and that still resonated. And I backed it immediately. Not that I have to back it or not back it. I'm like, hell yeah. I was like, great, this is perfect. And with what we were trying to do musically, also kind of just like I said, like musically kind of starting off with dulcimer folk music from the 50s. So it just kind of like all these things just made so much sense together. And it was like a great way to just think about moving forward with these concepts and trying to make this new record. So
yeah, I never really thought of it as like some sort of exploration of temporality or time, but you're right, there's all sorts of modes and time periods within one song here. That's fascinating in itself. Tasy, similar question. What did you make of this as a concept, and within that, like, do these poems speak to you in any particular way? Anything stand out for you as a person back there hitting stuff?
I feel like Robin has a really good way of relating things and tying everything together, and just having a really good overall understanding of the concepts. And because I mean, of course I'm focusing on like the music of it going in, because also the words are going to come in after, or they're not fully formed yet too. So so I'm listening more lyrically and stuff afterwards, or just as it's moving through, I guess. But there's just such a good flow, especially from the last record and from the collab and stuff. I think it's I
do want to say it also made sense, like, because you talked about how both records might relate, Naturmort and this one. And they actually do, and it was a bit of a happy accident that they did, because in my mind, I link them as like sibling records because the concept behind the words for Nature Morte is like a window into what is currently happening through my perspective, through people's perspective that might relate to me for whatever reason, from information that I've been gleaning and collecting through observation and speaking frankly with so many of my dearest friends. So like Nature Morte is kind of like the cause, and A Chaos of Flowers is like the effect. So because of how, let's say, the world is working at any given moment, this is the sort of internalized effect that it has on a person. Not everyone, of course, but maybe at least a few that I know of anyway.
Nature Morte means still life, doesn't it?
Yes, Nature Morte means still life. And then also the direct translation is dead nature. So the lyrical concept to that album was basically the subjugation of femininity and like all its pluralities, let's say. Okay. And so it really, and having to do a lot with my personal experience in this body, you know, that is very, very specific to people that have this kind of body that no one else really may experience in terms of a lot of things, navigating the outside world, especially specifically. And then A Chaos of Flowers is what may be happening internally while navigating the outside world.
I see.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Tasy.
Yeah, I think because
go ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like of course, also sharing these sort of identities with you and with these writers and stuff, and I feel like it's very well represented with conversations that I have with people, that I have with you, and just it was a really good voice of these experiences, because without really I feel like you put the words right there, and you're like, oh yeah. And that's from you bringing, you know, other people's words and your own too. So it was, you're like, aha, yes.
Oh, cool. Yay. Thanks, Tasy. That's so nice.
You guys,
that's good to know. Okay, it's working.
You guys do a lot of full band interviews, or
no?
So this is, first of all, I just want to say, I want to say I appreciate this, but I will say I'm picking up here and there as we've been speaking that you're each learning a little bit about each other in the record. And
your last name is what?
Waity?
What?
Sorry.
How do you pronounce it?
But it's fun it is fun to talk about it like this after it's made, because when we made this record together, but we don't necessarily. Now we get to look back at what happened and why things happened. But when you're in it, it's just like an entirely way of looking at making this art too. And we're all just like plowing forward. So now, and then when we hang out, we don't just talk about the record we made.
At all. At all.
As people who listen to the show regularly know, I'm in a bit of a vocational purgatory, and I'm starting to think I should be like band counselor, band psychologist, just band meeting convener, like the guy from Flight of the Conchords.
Oh my God.
Just because I find that people in this dynamic in the band learn stuff about each other that they hadn't, because I get it. Like I've been in bands. Like if someone were like, how'd you guys come up with that? I'm like, I don't know. We were in the basement and that's what happened. And then now that you're asking, that's an interesting question. Like I don't remember exactly, but let's try to piece this together. So I'm not trying to take any credit for this, but it's very lovely to hear you each discovering stuff about each other here. So I just want to say that. So thanks for making time for me. Speaking of time, I know you're very busy, and I've kept you a bit longer than I think we'd planned to keep you. So I do want to start to wrap up, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask about the collaborators outside of the band and Seth. Matt, we were both alluding to, I guess, my friend and maybe now yours, Marisa Anderson, among others. I don't know if we want to talk about all the collaborators. We should. There's not that many. Matt, can we talk a little bit? And anyone, I'll start with Matt because I feel like Matt's got a lot to say. That's my feeling on this. Mac.
It's so funny. He's the quietest one of the whole group,
I'm making jokes because I'm picking up on that, but I also I want to make sure Matt is as involved as possible. And Tasy, Tasy's been quiet too, but that's just I will say, as a band counselor, a wannabe band psychologist, involving everyone can be tricky, and I do my best. I hope you all feel like you had a chance to talk.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I really appreciate it.
It's really fun.
Thank you. Matt, can we start with you, and we'll see what other people say. Can we talk about how these external collaborators were brought into the fold for Chaos of Flowers?
Yeah, I mean, so for this recording session, we did it in 2 chunks, which we've never done before. We always book the time, and we usually go for like 10 days down to Machines with Magnets in Rhode Island. But then this one, we ended a bit early. Robin got sick. We're like, okay, you know what? And we looked at the calendar, and we realized we could go back like in 3 months. So that, with that time to listen back, we also just like realized we could harass musicians that we really look up to and love, and we sent out some emails. Some people wanted to do it, couldn't do it, but Marisa wrote back saying she could and wanted to and was excited to. Same with Tashi and Patrick Shirosi. And we kind of just like, we sent a couple songs to each of these collaborators, and there were no guidelines at all. So it was just like, here's the song we think you would sound good on, do whatever you want. And then throughout those months, they sent us stuff, and we went back to Machines and had time to mix it in properly. So it wasn't a rushed process also. But yeah, they're just people that we really respect as musicians. Like Marisa Anderson is an incredible musician, and I'm such a fan of her guitar playing. And then Tashi also, and it's like such different guitar playing. He just like deconstructs the guitar in like the most amazing ways. And then Patrick can just like play in any band, from like a quiet, like soft jazz band to like the harshest thing. And so we just also love what he does. So yeah, we just wrote to people that we really respect, and some people wrote back and said yes. So it's a huge honor to have those 3 on this record.
I gather you sent them songs and they did their stuff remotely. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, when we went back, then, we mixed it all in together. So,
Robin, was there a lot of back and forth about stuff, or was it a one and done?
One and done.
Nice.
That's how amazing they are. Because we knew too, like everybody that we reached out to, it was full trust and just honor. Like what if and when, like we would be honored to just even be considered, for you to even consider trying something, like especially with Marisa. Don't know her personally, saw her play, bought every record available, and but yeah, holy macaroni. Yeah.
That's lovely. Tasy, did you want to say anything about the collaborators? It sounds like it was a band decision, but did you send any of the emails? What did you have a role in this?
I'm the band administrator. No, but I don't know, it felt really good. Like it felt like these people they're in the same world, and like seeing them and touring with them and just listening to them on tour or whatever, then to finally have it like, oh, actually, let's invite this into this process now instead of this kind of, just live or whatever, other world. So it was great.
Yeah, and I assume if by some miracle you're all in the same places on the road
like
or something, maybe some collaborations. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so because the 2 records, the 2 most recent records, I should say, were made in quick succession, I wonder if it's presumptuous to ask if there are, if something else is in the oven, so to speak, something else going on. This is about the time where I start to ask about future plans, so this all feels germane. Let's go to Matt here. Matt, is Big Brave already working ahead on a new batch of songs, or is it just a matter of like, let's get Chaos of Flowers on the road and see what's going on?
Well, for like songs like band stuff, this is what we have. Like, it was a studio creation, this record, so it was a lot of work after to like, we're still rehearsing. We leave on Tuesday for tour.
Yeah.
And we're just about there. So that's what we have now. And we're just going to play these songs for the next year. But we have made another record already that's kind of like very quite experimental. No one will ever call us a metal band ever again. It's around this instrument that I made with salvaged piano strings, and we had time booked at the studio to make another collab. The other band, The Body, couldn't show up, so we just went and made a full, just like improvised record. Oh, and I mean, it's still a big Brave record because it's the three of us and Seth, but it's quite like there's some voice, but there are no lyrics or singing like that. And so, I mean, it's still a big Brave record, and that'll come out early 2025. I don't know if we'll play that live, but that was just something else. Like, we're at this point now where we feel like we can do whatever we want. Like, we can make a folk record. We can make a heavy record.
Yeah.
And so
I was expecting the answer to be like, no, you idiot. We just made a record. We got this on the road. Not actually. We have one totally done and in the can. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a good place where we get along. We love working with Seth. He's 5 hours away. It's just like, it's so much fun to do this. So I want to keep making records. But I think as far as like what we'll play live, like this is what we'll be doing for the next like year and a half or something.
I should say, and then Seth is only currently 5 hours away. You're all going to move to Edmonton, so that's going to be a harder commute to Rhode Island.
Right. Road trip. Yeah.
Robin, if people want to learn more about Big Brave on the internet, using their telephones and their computers, where would you like to direct them?
Well, we do have the Instagram, and we do have an actual website. Yeah. If people use those, but like bigbrave.ca has most of the information there. Matheiu takes care of it. I think he did such a good job on it. It's really nice, and there's fun little like little Easter eggs here and there that you kind of have to look around for. But primarily I would say the Instagram account, which is big _brave_. But yeah, because I have like the attention span of a goldfish. So bless Matheiu for taking care of all of that stuff, because I can't even begin to think about it. But everything is there.
I will link to these things, but I will say, since you invoked it, every once in a while I get on a soapbox at the end here. I think as these platforms come in and out of fashion and we discover how terrible they are, I think everyone should have a website at this point again, because everything is like, I stop using this because the guy's an asshole. Stop using this because the people running it are fucking assholes. And then what are you left with? Like, Jim White is now making fun, I think, of Instagram because he will handwrite his dates and tour dates on a piece of paper, and that's what he takes a photo of instead of playing with all the sort of toys that they give us. And I think, he was like, I started a newsletter again. Like, that's the most direct way to do things, because that's the only thing we can control. Getting off my soapbox now, but I encourage everyone to go to the Big Brave website. And hey, kids, start your own websites, because that's all you're going to have before you know it. So that's what I think.
.ca, much cheaper than .com.
Is that true?
Also.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, they give them away.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have a .com. I think I have a redirect. I think I have them both. Anyway, this is too much information for everyone else. Before we wrap up for good, though, Tasy, I neglected you there. Anything more you want to say about this album or anything we didn't cover? I know we've had a nice, extensive talk, but anything we missed?
You should totally listen to it.
Okay. Good call. That was the main point of this conversation, is to get people to listen to it. No, that was good. Sorry to put you on the spot. I just like to give somebody the final word, and I thought it would be you. And I'll be honest with you, I vaguely regret my decision there. I should have maybe gone to someone else. That's just how I feel.
Good job, Tasy.
Super good choice. I think that was perfect ending to
bye.
and also like a nice window into how our dynamic is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody ever asked me questions.
No, I know. I just want to say again, I appreciate you all being here together. It sounds like it's a bit of a rare occurrence. Tasy, I'm glad you're awake because it sounds like you like to sleep. So thank you for being here.
I'm here.
You're here
Very
and
present.
you're awake. And your driving shift is coming up soon.
Yeah.
If we can go,
There you go.
if we can go out on a song from A Chaos of Flowers, we have many people here. So I'm going to throw this out to one of you. The other two can dispute the choice. And we'll see what happens. And Tasy is ducking, so Tasy wants nothing to do with this decision. I can already tell.
Yeah, I think I heard something over there. I'm just
Okay. Tasy, something is distracting Tasy. I understand. I'm gonna go to Robin to pick the song and tell us why it came to mind. Again, Matt, Tasy, you can dispute, debate, and anything could happen now. We don't know what's going to happen. Robin, can you pick a song from A Chaos of Flowers for us to go out on right now?
No. No, I'm terrible at choosing.
Okay. You know what? That counts as a deferral. That happens sometimes too.
There we go.
Matt,
Okay.
we now go down the line. Matt, can you pick a song and tell us why it came to mind?
Okay, only since no one else will do this, but I'm happy to. I would pick Canon and Canon, I think.
Oh.
Oh,
a-
yeah.
Yes.
What am I saying? Yeah.
See, everyone
That
agrees.
would be my choice,
Yes.
too.
See, we're
Now,
close.
Canon and Canon
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
fascinating for a couple. First of all, it's one of the singles. So that tells us about Matt's reliance on safe choices in life.
Yes,
He picked
absolutely.
something that was already pre-selected.
Hey.
Secondly,
Singles,
secondly,
staying on the island.
one of the few, one of a couple, I suppose. I think. Sorry if I got this wrong. Original compositions, a song that the lyrics are Robin are your responsibility. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling.
No.
Matt, why did you actually pick the song? I made fun of you. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm used to it. I think it just has kind of everything we do with songs, or songs like specifically to this record. It's see, I don't even know what to say about this song already. Maybe it's a touch catchy. It's a bit more accessible than some of the more abstract ones, but it's got like the sub bass, it's got the feedback, great vocals, amazing drums. Tasy plays piano at the end. It's just kind of like, it's got some sidechain also at the end. So just like everything that we use all over the record is here in song number 4, Canon in Canon. So.
Okay.
And it might be one of my favorite ones, that or Theft, but I was only supposed to pick one. But I also love number 2. I like the last one.
That was the thing. I wanted to pick them all, like just have a listen to it all, but we need the one song. So,
Yeah. Well, here's a
actually
rare thing is that I can listen to this record. And
Yeah,
I've never
for
been
real.
able to
Yeah.
listen to any of our records before. You like finish recording and it's mastered and you go, and you just put it away and try to do better next time. But this one, I'm like, I'm proud of this record and what these 3 bozos have done together. And so,
Well, you should be. And I'll tell you what, I'll play a bit of Theft in the opening part of the show where I do a little
nice.
intro so people can get a taste of Theft. But Robin, since it is an original composition and I pick up on some elemental and I think sobering lyrical motifs here, is there anything you want to say more about this particular song?
yeah, it was with regards to what I was with specifically about the lyrics, just having to. It was quite literally in the moments of like deep grief or sadness or depression and or going through something difficult. Some side effects of that might be insomnia, and it's literally, if I'm going to be literal and basic about it, it's about waking up every day before the sunrise and not being able to fall asleep and just watching it. And despite one's grief and what the internal universe that we each are going through, the world just keeps on. And in those moments, it is sort of like a harsh, sober reality. And then, but musically, it was super, super fun because there are many chord changes, something that we don't have not done very much at all up until this record, and I got to sing like a real singer instead of like yelling and forcing, which I love to do as well, which the music, the previous albums, you know, might have required for whatever reason. But I also really, because I took a chance too, and when I was singing, no one knows what I'm going to do until I start doing it, and then so I sing quite softly, and I don't use the full extent of my voice. And I was like, as I started, I was like, no, I'm going to stop, and I stopped, and I'm like, I think I need to restart, and immediately my headphones go off, and everyone no, that was great, da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm on the right track. So that is also a really fun song to pick because of the difference in not just sonically, not just musically, not just compositionally, but also in more specifically its uniqueness to the full body of work, I guess. Yeah.
I appreciate that insight. I appreciate the choice, Matt. That's very kind of both of you. Hey, Tasy, anything more you want to say about the song?
Don't you dare.
This is Canon in Canon by Big Brave from their wonderful new record, A Chaos of Flowers. I just want to say, Tasy, Matt, Robin, this was a pleasure for me. Thank you for spending so much time with me today. I hope it was enjoyable in some small aspect.
Yes.
And this was great.
Very
and
nice.
best of luck with everything, and I hope we talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was so lovely.
Yes, rules.
You're hilarious.
Oh, go on, come on.
Such a joy. Okay, I will. No, but seriously, big fans. Like, Matheiu introduced me to your podcast years and years ago, and I was just like, wow, who is this person? And he lives in Edmonton. I'm like, what? And but just how you interview and the questions you ask, and like you also really listen, and and are funny and entertaining, and it's just nice to not feel like a robot in the interviews and feel like a human.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and again, I can't thank you enough for making time for me. Thank you, guys.
Oh my gosh, of course.
There
New music there by Big Brave. That was Canon and Canon, and what a joy to speak with those three people. I enjoyed that very much, and it was nice. Very, very pleasant. Thank you again to Big Brave for appearing on this, the 867th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and is available wherever you get your podcasts, pretty much. If you can't find an episode you're looking for, or if you want to learn more about me and sign up for my monthly newsletter, please visit vishkhanna.com. I encourage you to check out the weekly newsletter, but that's for the Patreon people at $1 a month, so it's a bit different. Although you get that, you get it when you sign up for the other tiers. You know what? I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. First of all, if you want to, you can click on the hyperlinked text in the show notes that says follow Vish online. You can find me on social media things. But again, please visit patreon.com/creative control to make a flexible monthly donation to keep me and this show going. This is my only job at the moment, and I am enjoying it. However, I am a little worried about it too. But things are going well on the Patreon. I can't really complain. It's happening incrementally. Things are improving. You can make any flexible monthly donation you want, but $6 or more a month grants you access to every single episode of this show in its entirety, ad-free, usually earlier than everybody else gets them too. And you also get some exclusive content. And if you're interested in receiving a Creative Control t-shirt, I still have some kicking around. So yeah, if you can support me and the show, if you're able to, that would be great. Any amount is welcome. And you can learn more at patreon.com/creative control. Also want to thank some independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario for supporting this show with in-kind donations. Also thanks to Jim Guthrie. He's a great guy, and he loans me music for this show. You can learn more about him at jimguthrie.org. And finally, thank you for listening to this episode with Big Brave. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll check out their music. And otherwise, I hope you will subscribe to this podcast or follow it. Leave nice ratings and reviews on your pod platform there. That helps gain the show some visibility. I'm not really fishing, but I have seen some nice comments since I've been asking more. And as I say, it does seem to help the show have a presence on those pod platforms. So thanks for doing that. Also want to suggest that if you just talk to your friends about the show, maybe they'll hate it, but they might like it. You never know. And otherwise, I hope you're well. I am going to go now, but I will talk to you soon, I hope. Okay. Take care of yourselves there, and hug the people you love. Bye for now.